Okay, welcome. It's Thursday. My name is Tanya Jooste. My page is Botanicamy, an alchemy of soothing botanic ingredients, and we are going live again. I took a bit of a break last week. Emotionally needed to process some news about my very nice, beautiful ginger that we adopted from Angola very many years ago. Sanchez is 14 and a bit now, so he's had an incredible life, but it's never a good thing when you hear bad news about one of your fur kids. But yes, he's doing really well, for those of you that are wondering. The medication that the vet has given him is really making him feel like he's a 5-year-old again, which is really awesome. So yes, it's all about good quality life. So very supportive there. Thank you everyone else for sending me messages, wondering how my cat's doing. And as people start logging in for today, obviously remember to go put something in the comments so I can see you are there, so I can give you a shout out. I have got EO Esploy, welcome to you. Nate's Med, welcome to you. I can see I can wave to you now in Instagram, so that's really awesome. I can also see Catherine's just logged in, welcome. And Marie, she's also logged in from her page, Art Accent. So really good to have you all here today. Kitty Cat's doing well. He's actually just run past the door at the speed of white light chasing something. So he's obviously feeling quite energetic today, which is a good thing. And as soon as cats start eating again, obviously it means they're getting a little bit better, and then they've got a lot more body strength and oomph for life. So let's talk about an oil today that can give a human oomph for life as well. Welcome, Catherine. I can see Georgie Hammer is just logged in. Daniel all the way from the UK. Connie, hello. Good to have you on. So yes, let's get started. I'm obviously going live today from Facebook and Insta. I did attempt to see the YouTube live this morning, and then I realized I needed to get Google Chrome first. I like Mac, and apparently YouTube doesn't like Mac and Safari. But I will learn with times and get more equipped with all the technology, and then we can go live there too. So welcome. I can see also Lena's joined in today. Probably your first time. Welcome. Really good to have some new viewers on as well, coming to learn a little bit more about essential oils and how they can support our body. Oh, there we go. Nate's Med has just let me know. Really cool name. That's actually quite a nice acronym. It's for Nature's Essential Medicine. There we go. Really like that name, by the way. Good one. Okay, cool. So today we are already on episode 28 of my single series. So you can it's been quite a journey so far, learning about all these beautiful essential oils. The single ones, obviously, not those that we can purchase in a blend, which is going to be really supportive for so many body systems. So today we're talking about an essential oil called Bergamot or Bergamot, depending on where in the world you're based. Some people use different accents for that. And I think until maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I actually didn't know that bergamot was in fact a citrus plant. And it's a beautiful citrus plant at that. It likes to grow in areas where there's acidic soils and where there's a lot of moisture in the air, so sea air. So think Mediterranean, think Italy and Sicily. So that's usually where we find the bergamot plants or the bergamot trees growing natively. That's the climate that they really appreciate, and it's the soil conditions that they really appreciate. And it's sort of a mixture between a lime and a grapefruit, but more than that, the fruit itself is actually quite gnarly looking. It's quite ugly. It's got all these little bumps and things on it. But it's a really amazing essential oil when you get it from the rind. And it's a very precious essential oil because actually cold pressing from the rind is quite it's a difficult process. It's not an easy one. And how you squish it and how you then separate the essential oil from the water part. So it is really an amazing essential oil. And as you'll learn today, the reason why bergamot is so incredibly powerful is because it's got a very large array of chemical constituents. So whereas most other single essential oils are very dominant and perhaps 2 or 3 and then have only a few extra chemical constituents, bergamot has very many. So it's an incredibly robust oil because there are so many different chemical constituents in that specific oil. And I think the funnest part for me about bergamot is that, I can see that Alison Watson has also just joined on IGE. Welcome on Insta. I think the funnest part is, although it is a citrus oil, and we all know by now that citrus oils are incredibly high in something called limonene, which is very uplifting and energizing, Bergamot has linalool, limonene in it, but it also, and it's in a smaller concentration, by the way, it is actually higher in the chemical constituents that are normally there for calming. So things like linalool, which we find in clary sage, for example, and in lavender, but more than that, linalool acetate. And it's quite incredible because this means this oil can be used to energize, but at the same time calm and focus you. And that is really incredible in one oil, because that means you are going to you're going to have to have, or not have to have, you will have a lot more clarity and focus, because there's the calmness, but it's also going to energize you. I think the beautiful part about bergamot, it's called that hug oil, right? So it has a lot to do with the neurotransmitters in your brain called serotonin, and also dopamine. So those two neurotransmitters that we usually need, for example, for that cuddle, for it's called the cuddle hormone, but also that sort of connecting hormone. So that same kind of effect you get from someone that's addicted to playing on their iPad, it's that. And then also the connection part, playing with, like, for example, when a mom has just had a baby, those are the neurotransmitters that are really high so that they can bond really well. All right, so basically, if I just want to go through all of my notes here, the secretion of those neurotransmitters are actually increased when there's bergamot being inhaled. And if you saw on my page earlier in the week, quite exciting, there was a very nice clinical study performed. Andrea Wood is saying she loves bergamot. I like bergamot in combination with other things. On its own, it's got a weird little smell for me. But there was a study, a really nice study, where they tested for patients with mood conditions in a waiting room. And these are patients with serious mood conditions. It's not the normal, occasionally I feel sad kind of thing. I can also see Beverly's just logged in on Instagram. Welcome, welcome. And what they did is they basically diffused bergamot for about 15 minutes before they saw the patients. And their anxiety was a lot less. They were a lot calmer. They were really experiencing positive benefits from this bergamot. But more than that, there was actually a really incredible scientific review that I was busy reading this morning. And there they've sort of done a compendium or a review of several clinical trials where they've actually tested bergamot for maintaining a healthy cholesterol level in a body, which is really amazing because we know bergamot is really good for emotional support. But this study is sort of nice because it means that there's quite a lot of clinical trials also being done on bergamot essential oil to support physically. So when we start looking at the cardiovascular system and making sure that we have a healthy cholesterol level, and that is in balance, and bergamot is actually very good for that. So for those of you that are interested in that study, maybe just put in the comments for me science. So if you put in the comments science, then I'll send you the link for the specific review that I've just mentioned, where they chat about bergamot, where they tested it in studies to maintain a healthy cholesterol level. Really, really cool stuff, eh? So let's talk about some of the other top things, or the top uses while the comments are coming through on Insta, I'm going to have to take notes because unfortunately Insta doesn't leave the comments there while I'm busy doing the live for some reason. I've got to figure out why that is. So basically I'll just go and pop them in and send them to you as a private message afterwards. So I've just got to write the names down as we go along for people commenting on science. So the other top uses for bergamot are incredibly versatile because of the very many chemical constituents that are actually found in this oil. So as I said, there's limonene, but there's also linalool acetate and linalool. Those molecules make up quite a large percentage, and then there's about 47 other chemical constituents in there which make up the rest of those 10%, which is amazing. Where do I get this information? So how do I know about the chemical constituents in these oils? Well, my favorite essential oil company is one of the only companies in the entire world that gives us the lab results, the GCMS lab result for every single essential oil. There's a batch code at the bottom of the bottle. Mine is at the back there now, so I can't show you. It's actually in my diffuser at the moment. But there's a batch code at the bottom of the oil. And basically from there, what it does is you go and type it into a website called source2u.com, and that batch code then brings up the lab result for that specific batch of oil. And it's actually a third-party testing lab, and I think this is one of the biggest benefits for me for using my specific brand that I love so much, because I want to know what's in my bottle. I like the science stuff. I want the proof of what is inside there and that it's going to be really beneficial and supporting. So someone is asking, what does GCMS stand for? That is the lab test that they do. So it's on a mass spectrometer that they run this, and basically it's gas chromatography. Now those are quite big words for someone that doesn't have a science background, but basically what it means is that it analyzes the very small components, so all of the aromatics, it breaks it up into all those very small parts, and then through this machine it tells you what level each one of those chemical constituents can be found in that essential oil. In other words, what percentage of that oil is linalool, what percentage is linalool acetate. More so, they can also pick up if there has been adulteration. So is there carrier oil in there? Pesticides, fertilizers, heavy metals, all of those things come up when they put it through that. So GCMS is actually a combination term for two things. And basically that's what it means. All right, so hopefully that was not too much science there. Bev, hopefully that made some sense for you. Okay, cool. So basically the top uses for this essential oil are very wide and varied. It's got a lot of anti-inflammatory benefits, so could even be used for discomfort in the muscles and the joints. More so, inflammatory, specifically in the gut area as well. There's a lot of good research talking about the effects that bergamot can have on the digestive tract, which is quite amazing as well. That obviously being my absolute love. Good gut health, saving my microbiome, because that is when you're going to be the healthiest you'll ever be, is if your gut health is in a really good condition. Also, it's what we call anxiolytic, so an antidepressant basically. It's got antidepressant benefits because of its ability to increase the secretion of the dopamine and the serotonin. All right, so then another thing is it's got really good antibacterial as well as antifungal properties, and it has been tested quite often in a lot of scientific studies for specifically those benefits. And getting back to that digestive part, it's what we call a digestive stimulant. All right, so for when we look at those top properties, you know, how we are going to be using them, there's a lot of information out there talking about how bergamot really helps someone who's got addiction. So for example, to alcohol or nicotine, and simply sniffing the bergamot can be really supportive. And it's not because it takes the cravings away, but again, what it does, remember, is it gives you that feel-good feeling because of the neurotransmitters. And when you feel good, you might not feel as, I'm going to like die if I don't have the cigarette right now. So that's why it has such a beneficial effect when you're using it as a supportive mechanism when you're trying to quit some addictions. There's a lot of people that also use bergamot really effectively for when they have poor quality sleep. So especially those people that really suffer from a deep sleep condition. So the bergamot can induce quite a vivid dreaming in some individuals. So if you're someone that dreams quite vividly and you want to increase that, bergamot is a really good essential oil to put in the diffuser next to you and in the bed at night. And it's because of its serotonin benefits and its dopamine benefits, it's really good for those anxious feelings or when you're feeling like super stressed. So Alina's saying that's why she really likes bergamot. Do you like the vivid dreaming then? That's quite a cool thing. There we go. So share. You can see while we're sharing, it's got such an amazing community. It's nice to hear what other people are using their bergamot for. I love it in my diffuser because it just makes me feel better about life. That's generally why I use bergamot quite often. So we've talked about the discomfort in the joints and the muscles, especially if we start talking about cramping. Bergamot is a really good essential oil. And while we are talking about the topical use of bergamot, it has got incredible skin purifying benefits. So it's advised quite a lot when we are dealing with minor skin irritations and conditions. But please do remember, most of us on the call today are in South Africa. And bergamot is an essential oil that is incredibly high in the components for photosensitivity. So if you are going to be using bergamot topically in your skin lotion, for example, on your body, or in your moisturizer in the morning, don't do it in the morning in South Africa. Rather do it in the evening, because when you're applying an essential oil very high in these photosensitive components, it's better to not go into the UV or be exposed to UV within 12 hours, okay? Because it can cause things like skin discolorations and skin sensitivities. So when you are having a skin irritation, rather apply at night when you know it's safe and you're not going to be going into the sunlight, basically. And we all need sunlight. We need the vitamin D, so don't not go into the sunlight. Just tailor when you're applying this essential oil. I really like bathing in bergamot, and again, I would do this in the evening. So I would make like an Epsom salts sort of conglomerate with a little bit of carrier oil and my favorite essential oils. And although lavender is usually always in my Epsom salt bath, there are other oils that I sort of play around that I like to add. So here, things that pair really well, for example, in that scenario is something like patchouli, ylang ylang. As I said, lavender is really good, even wild orange. So those are all essential oils that combine really well and just have a beautiful fragrance. There's also benefits in using bergamot, specifically if you are prone to skin breakouts. Oily skin, for example, but again, this is going to be an essential oil that you then include in your skin routines in the evenings rather than in the mornings with our South African sun. And the biggest part, I think, that is really amazing about bergamot is the emotional support, because of those neurotransmitters that they do, that the secretion is increased. So very much moving, if you can think about moving from feeling inadequate to feeling more worthy. That's probably what sums bergamot up on the emotional side, which is incredible, because there's so many of us that get that sort of, what's the right word? Imposter syndrome sometimes about doing things that we are doing on a daily basis, but we think, oh, who am I? Am I good enough to be doing this? That kind of thing. So that kind of feeling is definitely not a healthy one, because most of us do know what we're doing on a daily basis. But if you need a little bit of support to feel more self-confident, I would definitely be reaching for the bergamot, because it's going to be calming and soothing and energizing all at the same time, which is really powerful. All right, so here I'm now going to get to the stage where we're going to talk about a lot of recipes today, because there's so many amazing recipes that you can include bergamot into. So earlier in the week, I had a top tip on my page about Earl Grey tea. I love Earl Grey tea. I must say, since I've stopped drinking cow dairy, the nut milks don't make tea taste like they should. The cow dairy is absolutely something special with a cup of tea. So I tend to now drink my bergamot without any kind of anything else in it, just like that. I also prefer the bergamot plant itself. It's got a completely different taste because they make it from the bergamot plant and not Ceylon tea, for example, that has been flavored. Although most Earl Greys that you get on the shelf are actually Ceylon teas, black teas that have been flavored with bergamot. So just go and read my top tip earlier in the week. If you've run out of Earl Grey, now you know how to go and make some more. It's a really nifty little trick, and it's really beautiful and fragrant. I also used to bake macaroons quite a lot, and I had an Earl Grey macaroon that I was baking, and I used to make the shell a purpley color that I used to dye with beetroot, so it was a natural food dye, and it was beautiful because every batch always came out a different color because the beetroot oxidizes with heat in the oven. So depending on the day and how much beetroot I added and how strong the beetroot dye was that I made, there was usually a sort of a color variation between them all. And then on the inside, it used to be like a white chocolate ganache filling with the beautiful bergamot, because that's where the Earl Grey comes from. So there we go, Earl Grey macaroon. Right. So let's talk a little bit about these feelings. The cuddle or the accept or the uplift that we get from bergamot. So for example, if you're feeling like, oh, I'm a failure, or I don't know what I'm doing, you feel inadequate, in other words, or worthless. And I know these are incredibly strong words to say out loud, but if you think about it, there's a lot of us that actually do feel those words as emotions about ourselves on a daily basis. So remember, self-care is not always just about painting toenails or having a nice bath and shaving our legs. Those are actually necessities, by the way, just because. But the self-care is in the way about how we speak to ourselves as well, because we tend to be really harsh on ourselves and really not negative always, but we take a very harsh opinion of ourselves. So bergamot is definitely going to be an oil for you if you're someone that takes things too seriously in that kind of regard. So it's to build confidence, to make you feel empowered, to play bigger, to have that self-approval that we're all always seeking. All right, so bergamot is definitely a brilliant essential oil for that. So how are we going to include these into recipes? Well, I've got a couple for you that we are going to be talking about now. There's actually a really cool recipe where bergamot is used in a motion sickness relief roller. So for all of you that are going to want the per drops exactly of what you could put in this motion sickness roller, go and put in the comments, please, motion. But basically what that roller includes is lime, bergamot, bergamot, and then spearmint or peppermint, whichever you prefer over there. So those are the oils that are generally really good in assisting you when you've got motion sickness. So for the exact drops and how you make that up, just go put in the comments for me, motion. All right, then we go to the next one, the stress relief blend. This is a really good stress relief blend, by the way. So remember all those oils that I said blended really well with bergamot? Well, here, if you want this recipe, please comment stress. All right, so the stress relief blend, you can either put it in a diffuser or you can make yourself a roller bottle and put it onto your pulse points. Here, because the things, if you're making a roller, remember with the bergamot, don't put it all over your face, for example. If you're going to put it here behind your ears, you'll be okay in the sun. Put it here on your pulse point, you'll be okay in the sun, because it's not like you go and stand like that in the sun. So definitely I'm just going to make note here as IGE continues for the people commenting there for all the different rollers and recipes. So the stress relief has got lavender, wild orange, balance, which is a grounding blend, which is very high in frankincense and Roman chamomile, for example, and bergamot. So if you don't know what that balance blend is and you want some more information on that, please just message me as well so I can get you some of that amazing balance blend. Then those are the oils that they combine either as a diffuser blend or in a roller bottle. Just going to go through those again. So combining lavender, wild orange, the grounding or balance blend, and bergamot. Again, if you want the exact drops, just put stress in the comments and I'll get that recipe to you. But wait, there's more. I'm just going to get more notes because they're all scattered all over my table this morning. This is going to be my last recipe for the day. And this is called a bounce back recipe. So a bounce back recipe is something after you've worked yourself into a major tiz. Most of you that know me really well know that I do this quite often. I'm a really passionate person, and I always am doing everything at like my highest level that I possibly can. So when something frizzes me up and I'm like really like and I have to bounce back straight after, so that I can actually not lose the rest of my day about being so in a tiz about something, this is a blend that works really well, and this is the bounce back blend. So it contains oils of bergamot, ylang ylang, which is one of my absolute favorites, lavender, and wild orange. So for the exact drops there, again, you're just going to please put in the comments for me the word bounce, and I'll get that recipe back to you. Right, so that was today's lesson about bergamot. There's just so many beautiful things about this essential oil. You can use it internally if you're using a food grade essential oil. You can use it aromatically, which is probably one of the most powerful ways to use bergamot because of its mood support benefits. And definitely the internal, obviously, when you start looking at supporting that healthy cholesterol level, but please make sure you read the label. You do need to be using a tested grade oil where it actually says that it is a food safe oil. And then definitely the last one is topically, and topically is really good for the skin because of its purifying properties, but definitely the sun thing is quite serious there. So please remember to only apply it topically in the evening or on an area that you're not going to be exposing to the sun. All right, so I just want to quickly see the last comments coming through. Ali is doing bounce, fantastic. I just want to make sure on Insta before I shut down this live that I have everyone commenting on which ones they actually wanted. Perfect. All right, so for all of you that just joined, Jerry, I can see you also joined in the background. Perfect. A balance recipe, Jerry. Grounding blend, balance. The blend, I know you already have that oil. So that's what that balance is for. Maybe you were talking about the bounce blend in total instead of the balancing one, the bounce back blend. So just go and comment there which one it is. You know what the balance is already. Bounce. There we go. Corrected. Okay, I'll get that recipe to you as soon as possible. So thank you so much for joining me today. Really awesome having you all on. This is my passion. If any of you are on here today for the first time, and you have not attended one of my Discover Essential Oils 101 classes, go into the comments and type in there, please, because I actually run a live class every Thursday, or most Thursday evenings at 7:15. I use the Zoom application platform. The class is around 1 hour and 15 to 1.5 hours, depending on how passionate I get on the one side and how many questions come from the audience. But that's also another live opportunity for you to join me to learn more. I talk a little bit about core oils and what they do, and it's the basic 101s for newbies that don't know anything about essential oils yet. So put that in the comments and I can get that Zoom link and passcode to you as soon as possible, because it is Thursday today, which means there is another class running this evening. So thank you so much for everyone that joined. I will see you next week Thursday again for my next live, and then we're already on episode 29, which is quite exciting. So cheerio. Bye bye.